9, 8.
You're watching The
7,
Experience, Comic Culture
6,
and Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily to
4,
Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
I still love that jam.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It's good. It's like, I don't know who makes those musics that are open, whatever source, but they know their stuff.
Kyle.
About 50% of them are ones that I write, and about 50% of them are ones that I find through a licensing software or a licensing program that I have with other indie artists and things. So,
You know, you were writing some of these.
mm-hmm. The big long one at the beginning was all me.
Oh, see, do you guys have any favorites? The ones that you guys have that are regulars? Do you guys have favorite lead-in songs? Because, you know,
If they're a little punk rock and they're a lot of guitar, generally it's me.
it's
If they're a little more hip hop or whatever, it's software. And then some of the middle is like, sometimes I edit the music I get from these sites. So,
Yeah, that one, no lie, that would catch my staff, like kind of like Bob dancing too, just kind of like the before they went live when they were doing this. Hey, I see John and Eddie, Triple B. Who else is on here?
Kenneth.
And Kenneth. Yeah, it's all rock and roll now.
You know what I have to do though after today? By the way, hopefully next week we'll have books from publishers we've never had before.
Oh,
if things go my way. Well, I may or may not have spent more than several minutes on the phone with Silver Sprocket today. So hopefully we'll start getting some of those, as well as First Comic or what is it? First Comics and Vault. So
amazing.
And then I've got an email into John's dude at Black Box. So
he'll definitely send those.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Nice.
So we should get into this though.
Yes, we do.
Because the sooner we're done, the sooner I can pack and get on my road to Pittsburgh.
You're like, I want out of here. All right. Hi, everybody. In case you don't know, which I'm sure you do, because all of you guys are regulars, this is Minute to Skim It. We're going to give you some reviews on stuff. So I just want to show you kind of like what we're talking about for size for 0 Point. It's
Miss Jen read a trade.
Yeah, I did. It's not quite full trade height. It's more like what I call scholastic size. And it's by Alien Books. And Alien Books has been around for a little while, but they also are the people that took on all of Valiant. So if you're like going, who are these new upstarts? Alien.
Oh.
Here you go. So Alien Books.
Okay, we need to get on their mailing list, Jay.
Yes.
Tell me if you had Alien Books mailing list.
Yep. So this one is a really cool graphic novel. I actually don't know whether this started out as individual issues or if they jumped straight to OGN. It's really cool. So if you're a fan of like really cool assassins find themselves at odds with, oh no, I'm supposed to do this one last job, but another assassin showed up to do my job. There's a Punisher series that's like this too, which is funny. And so this is really about this one guy who's on the cover, who's a really great assassin, kind of getting bullied into or strong-armed into doing one last job. And the one last job goes sideways because another assassin shows up on a motorcycle and uses a sword to behead the person he's supposed to be shooting from, another building far, far away. So this is a lot about like what are you going to do about that? Does he have to give back the money that he was given for this hit? I don't know. Does the person care as long as that person has died? And he finds him being hunted down by, all kinds of bad guys and also interacting with this other cool assassin, which I'll let you discover who the assassin is really, really neat. And I think he goes by Bird. I think I'm right about this. Either there's someone else that he knows that's really close to his organization is known as Bird. There's a lot of bird imagery in this book. So
Miss Chen, can you put one of these in your suitcase and I will hand you cash?
Well, I only have one of them, so I guess there's there.
Sold. This sounds dope.
It's really good. And it's all kind of like this dark noir, black and white. All black and white noir. Yeah. That was me again. All right. You're not seeing things. Last week, we talked about Fall of the Powers of 10, part of the Fall of the House of X. So this is a number 2, but this is totally a different issue. It continues to be all kinds of epic. So just kind of, I'm going to give you a little taste of this one because I don't want to mess a lot of stuff up for you because I love the way these books are laying out. They kind of get you caught up for where everything is in mutantdom and their fight, and kind of like ties in the other books that are part of the series, like Dead X-Men ties into this one. There's like 2 or 3 issues of that came out. So that's part of this. Like if you have read them, great. It references them. But if you don't, then it actually tells you what happens. So it's okay. This one specifically, Prof X trying to figure out if he can get back to Mariah as a teenager just ahead of her getting her powers, or right as she gets her powers, maybe to talk her out of going through all of her 10 lives, because the 10th life is the one they're in now, which is the Krakoa one, and he wants to prevent it from happening because he knows what the outcome is, which is what we're experiencing right now. So it's either that's plan A, or plan B is they got to kill her when she's a baby, I guess, because that's all the other choices they really have to them. And they're doing most of this planning from a no space, which is kind of a cool way, the way they describe how they make the no space and who's involved, who they're using the powers of. And if you like Rasputins, there's a heavy Rasputin through line. So it is really cool.
Corey Rust, I can answer that question. They invoice on Wednesdays, bud. So you'll get an invoice tomorrow for everything from the last week. I got you.
It. And if you were with me last week, it would have come via an email from me to the email that you filled out the email for.
Right. So if you bought stuff on Thursday, you'll get it this Wednesday.
And I'll send it again if I don't hear from you, because I know I sent it to you and it didn't get opened. So look for an email from mingforking@yahoo.com.
How bad is it that I know everyone on the experience is billing and invoicing terms?
It's awesome because you also buy from us. That's why.
That's exactly why I know. I have an addiction.
Me too.
So
you just trade stuff.
It's true. Okay. Cemetery Kids Don't Die. I have to give a caveat to all my books this week.
Oh.
I got a new iPad and it's not quite set up so I can read my comics on my iPad yet. So I had to read everything on my phone. Do you know what else exists on my phone? TikTok.
Oh no.
And it's super distracting. So I maybe didn't put as much time and energy into reading my books as I would have liked. But this one I did. This one I spent a lot of time like going like this and like it, zooming in on the photos, zooming in on the panels and really getting into it. And I will say this. I don't know that maybe this is the best story Zach Thompson has ever written. But this feels a lot like old school Oni Press. And we're talking Scott Pilgrim versus the World is the new hotness Oni Press era.
Ooh.
This feels classic and super fun. And Jay, there are fish people, but they're not exactly fish people. They're kind of like Scooby-Doo fish people.
Oh,
where you're
okay.
like, I'm not 100% sure what this fish person is. Like, or are they ghosts, or are they demons, or are they? You really can't tell. But this book was so much freaking fun. And it's like, I don't know that it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be a little bit serious. but it doesn't feel like that. It kind of feels like when you watch a Jack Black movie or Robin Williams doing a like Patch Adams or one of those things where it's funny even though it isn't supposed to be because of who wrote it and how it's done. This is that. This was super cool. Again, I don't have a ton of like plot points I can tell you because otherwise it just gets wildly spoilery. But if you dug Oni Press's like manga comics kind of vibe from, back in the Scott, 1 hour photo, right? Funny, even though it doesn't mean to be, but no, back from the Scott Pilgrim versus the World era. This is it, man. I'm so excited to talk to Torma about this, like, and kind of be like, hey, like, more of this.
Mhm.
So,
Hey, I saw Lorena pop on and EJB. I don't know what you mean by pinch worthy EJB, but if you mean should
pinch, because I had to zoom in on the panels.
Pinch worthy. Okay. I was like, if you mean by steal it, Lord, please don't do that. Comic shop's got enough problems. Support them with your dollars.
Speaking of fish people,
Speaking of, oh no, more fish people.
Okay, you picked this book and you saw who was on the cover.
hold
You-
on.
You deserve to go insane from the fish people.
Hold on, though. Hold on. First of all, I don't remember him in the other two series I read, but this one has Gonk in it. Gonk is in the first issue. So this is already my favorite series of Elvira. I love Gonk.
Who's gone?
Even though the Lord of the Fish People themselves is in this story a few times, it's okay. Because the title of the book tells you exactly who's going to be in this book. He's on the cover. I'm okay with it. Because, one, it's Elvira. Okay? Elvira gets a pass with everything. Two, it's H.P. Lovecraft, so I already know what that's going to entail. That's like apparently his most famous creation, the Elder Gods, and Cthulhu. So I already knew going into this, he was going to be in there. He doesn't overtake the story, Cthulhu at least, so I'm okay with it. This is just a funny meta book. There's even a slight jab at Dynamite themselves in it. It's where once again the world needs saving, and only Elvira can do it. And much like another book I have on this list, it's about people looking for the Necronomicon.
Ooh.
And now, where is the Ash and Elvira crossover, Nick? That would print money. Have they ever crossed over before? They have?
I think they did one. I think they did one at Dynamite, but I can't confirm. But I feel like they have. But yes, licensed to print money.
Mm-hmm.
If you can work Svengoolie and do a crossover with like Frank Miller Presents to get all three of them,
that's
I will buy original covers at whatever price you charge.
but regardless of all that, if you were a fan of the first few Elvira in or Elvira Meets books, I think you'll dig this one too. Like I said, Dynamite's on a tear with some of these characters. They've become some of my favorite books to read. But yeah, definitely pick this one up.
37 covers.
That's relatively low.
Oh yeah. Okay. Firepower. I believe this is your grand finale for this series. It's been a really great Kirkman run. So if you like old school kung fu stories, but that star kind of what feels like just like a family man, because half of like they introduce him and say that he's the chosen one and he goes off to get trained, but then he kind of immediately ends up back at his own house defending it from ninja, etc. So this feels like a very grounded series. It always has. But here we are at the end of the series. There's been a giant dragon that they've been fighting essentially everywhere that it's been damaged. It feels like that area starts growing huge amounts of very fast growing green stuff. So imagine if it got dropped on New York, then it was basically turning into a big forest, which is kind of an interesting way. And they're all like the traditional Chinese dragon imagery. So the whole family goes to battle this. You can see all their different, like there's not just firepower in this. It kind of feels like, what's the cool one that's on, just has a new show that just started now, where Ong is the main character. You guys know this one.
Avatar?
Avatar.
No,
I think Avatar. And it's like, it's got different things, give you different kinds of powers. And so they're trying to figure out different ones. This one's neat because it resolves all that storyline, which is a very family storyline, and then does a 15 years later, which is, it gives you all the feels that you want out of a cool series. So if you've never read Firepower, it's only 30 issue long run, so it's not that hard to read the whole thing. I think you have to buy, 4 or 5 trade paperbacks and you're done. And I'm sure they'll make a cool omnibus. So if you haven't tried it, you might pick this up this week and do the reverse thing. Read this and read the final chapter first. And then be like, hey, I did dig this. I'm going to go back and see how we got here. Ooh, baby. All right. Talk about probably the hottest book on the planet this week, because most retailers had to order Ultimate Spider-Man 2 before we knew that Ultimate Spider-Man #1 was going to be everyone's favorite thing on the planet. So here's your forewarning that you should make sure you call your LCS right now and make sure you have a copy held for you, because it's not going to last. And don't be mad at them either if they say they don't have any, because a lot of people added it to their pull boxes, which sometimes is going to leave your LCS with none for the rack. So it's not on them. It's just the way the cycle works right now. This one sees our Peter Parker, who is a family man and has 2 kiddos and a very successful wife and Mary Jane Parker. Sees him working through his decision last issue, in which he willingly took the offered, spider of powers and gave himself the powers. He's got a suit. It's interesting to see the suit decision that they've made for him. I don't know if it's a permanent one. It's also very fun to see, J. Jonah Jameson and Peter's dad sit around and talk about, they haven't started their own paper yet. They don't have a name for it. Why did Peter give the picture that he took of things to them, and why did they give it to them instead of giving it to the old paper? Anyway, it's funny. In this world, Kingpin has taken over the paper, but he's getting hit by the Green Goblin. So the Green Goblin's got it out for him for some reason. And so you get full appearances of a couple characters in here. So this one's going to be a hot to trot book, and it's really well written, and it feels great.
Okay. So this is A Haunted Girl #4. As you may or may not recall, I had some problems with 3. This issue sort of makes me have to say the following sentence. I would like permission to extrapolate and expand upon my feelings on #3. I was wrong. The problems I had with #3 are answered in #4, and it moves in a direction that really, really is super cool. Issue 3, if you recall, was leaning very heavily into sort of the Asian mythos that is part of this book. And it didn't necessarily seem like it felt the same of the vibe, right? 1 and 2 were really about the girl whose destiny it is to save the world isn't sure she wants to stay alive, right? And then all of a sudden, issue 3 is all about like the destinies and this kind of everything is kind of oogie googie, predeterminate sort of thing. This book kind of takes that and says, okay, if that's true, here's your spirit guide. Here's the person whose job it is, or the spirit whose job it is to get you where you need to go. And it kind of turns into I wouldn't say a therapist patient relationship, or even like a coach player relationship. It turns into more of this, hey, everything sucks, but I've been there before kind of relationship. Like, the story of the guy who falls in the hole. I don't know if everybody knows this story. Guy falls in the hole and can't get out, and doctor walks by, and the guy goes, "Doctor, can you help me out?" And the doctor writes a script and throws it in the hole. Priest walks by, goes, "Can you get me out?" And priest says a prayer and walks away. Finally, the guy's friend comes and jumps down in the hole with him. And he goes, "What are you doing now? We're both stuck here." And the guy goes, "Yeah, but I've been here before. I know the way out." That's this issue of this book. And oh my gosh, was it cool. And I see everybody freaking out over this cover. This cover's great, but the interior pages have like the art style it's had, plus an additional what I would call gouache treatment on some of the panels, that it really sort of gives the art an interesting layer that I really like. So 100% Ethan Sachs, Naomi Sachs, Marco Lorenzana, you won me back.
So this one starts out.
That's Charlie's Angels, isn't it?
Yeah, it was still nice though. This one starts out a little slower than the first issue, but it's still so good. It's got some humor to it. Nothing like laugh a second, but got some good humor. It does. This one spends quite a bit of time with Bond on the phone with people. Like you're watching him with a cell phone, and we're just hearing the conversation, then seeing the person on the other end of the phone. Like I want to say a good 20% of the book is that, but it's interesting stuff though. It's interesting stuff. And then the shooting starts, and the action in this book just gets crazy. It's just it's so violent. It's Bond against a pretty big group of people in it's a building. I can't tell what the building is, but I mean they just get dispatched in some brutal ways. There's this there's this one part where Bond is like parkouring on the different levels going down in this building and just lands on somebody. And just the visual was just like definitely something to keep your eye on. That's a joke, and when you read the book, you'll get that joke. But anyway, this is superb storytelling by Garth Ennis, and the art and colors by Rafa Labasco and Jorge Sutil. Hopefully I'm pronouncing those right. They're just amazing and just elevates this book as a whole. This really feels like an R-rated Bond show, and I'm in on this one. Folks, you should pick this up and let me know what your thoughts are, because I'm really interested to hear how people feel about this one. Coming off the Philip Kennedy Johnson one. For me, I think it holds up. Both series are very, very good. So if you're a Bond fan, if you're a fan of that Philip Kennedy Johnson run, don't let the Garth Ennis name scare you if you're not into Garth Ennis. just give this one a shot because it's really, really good.
By the way, the covalent bond on the background of the cover is trihydrogen monoxide.
Thank you. I was actually trying to find it. I
Yep.
knew it wasn't a benzene ring, but I couldn't figure it out.
No, it's trihydrogen monoxide, which is a hypothetical metallic oxygen and water-based compound that they think are the atmospheres around Uranus and Neptune, but also it's wildly reactive. So watch out for nukes in this book, I think.
Oh.
Either that or we're missing a bit behind Bond's butt there. So maybe this is just the covalent bond for a watered-down martini.
Okay.
That's why you don't shake the ice in a martini.
Oh my goodness gracious. Bowen. Okay. By the way, if you guys aren't watching Henri's shows on the Experience, in which he's been doing this whole like Spawn thing where he draws his own versions of Spawn, even though he's a writer and can't draw at all. It has this whole like competition about the boot.
Well,
'Cause,
that's
you know,
Get the
Todd
boot.
started it.
did Todd start it?
Yeah, he's doing fan or working artists can submit covers to be on a future Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
So Henri started playing with it.
It's hilarious to me because he makes it part of his show as a vote, and I don't know. It's just like cracks
the
me up because
boot.
he's got a video that he's put together. Just watch Henri's show to buy a couple books and then just be entertained by him and his dog. All right, so 350th issue. In this issue, it has the big through line is that the seat of hell has been empty and people are competing to take it because it comes with a lot of power, obviously, because Mabul is just dead. His head is, on the wall of hell, just kind of like being there. And so this one's kind of a cool trip as you go through a bunch of, maybe if you haven't read Spawn for a while, you might like, oh, I recognize Wanda. Oh, I recognize the Redeemer. Oh, I recognize, Violator. So you get to go through memory lane as they show up and try to make their play for the throne. I'm not going to mess up who is the person that takes the throne, but I think it's a interesting choice, and I think it's going to be the thing that happens because of who it has huge implications for every single powered up creature we've got. The Spawn, anyone that's on Earth, Spawn, Redeemer, anybody that's there, everything changes for them. So it is more than just a 350th issue. It actually has implications for what's going on with all the powers that they have. So, and there's a bunch of really cool covers.
I love this cover so much. Love this cover.
There are no weak covers in these. Oh, and this one. Okay, so as you might guess from Mirka and Dolfo, most of the stuff that they put together is a little more adult leaning. And this book is from Distillery. So it's going to be a big magazine size book, which is, I actually like that format for the gorgeous art you get to see in this. So in this storytelling, there is at the very beginning a nun who appears to make a deal with, I don't know, some entity. You're supposed to assume the devil, I was assuming. And then it jumps way ahead in time in which the whole world is obsessed with, we'll call them glorified people. So they're basically, their whole society is now built around, think if YouTube was kind of like driven by those mega pastors, but in this case, like she is one of these people that's the top, I forget what they call them, but her whole thing is to become famous and, sing awesome music and be pure and all this kinds of stuff. But of course, that the background because of, and this is the person that was, the nun long ago who made the deal. There's something nefarious going on in all this hearts and rainbow stuff. It's kind of a messed up world. I think there was, so all the people that have chosen seem to have miraculous powers. And like this girl has got like a backstory that they're kind of unraveling as you're drawn through the story. So really great, gorgeous art. There is a bunch of adult content. Yeah, it's a nice long book. Took a long time to read. Hey, Paige.
Oh, that's awesome. Writer of Blowtorch.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice, dude.
Okay.
Yes, I'm ready to hear you, Kyle.
All right.
9-9.
I've figured out. You guys know that bowler with the afro that you see on TikTok or whatever. I don't know his name. If that guy were Frank Castle, that's what this book is. Or like if instead of fighting the Amish or whatever they do in that movie Kingpin, or fighting Bill Murray in that movie Kingpin, they were literally fighting every racist idiot that's ever existed in any movie ever, that would be this book. This book has so many, I'm just going to say it, minor spoilers, so many skulls get crushed in by bowling balls. Like, it reminds me of Letterman dropping stuff off the roof. Like, just so many. And, like, he's officially gone, like, Batman meets Inspector Gadget with the bowling balls. Like, he has bowling ball gadgets, like, with spikes and stuff.
Look at his shoes, man. What if he stepped on your foot? That would just be pain.
Right. Now, imagine him stomping on your face with it.
No.
Oh, that is mostly what this book is, right? This book is the part of the movie where like Black Betty by Ram Jam comes on, or Fuel by Metallica, and you just see blood spatter for 10 minutes. This is that issue. There is very little plot being moved forward in this book. There is just a lot of absolute unbelievable carnage at the hands of a bowling ball.
Look,
like at one point he goes, "I'm the bowling ball."
Oh,
it didn't really work, right? Like he's still trying to come up with his catchphrase, and I just hear it in Christian Bale's Batman voice.
Oh, jeez.
Like
you have to put your accent on the "am" part, though.
It's true. I'm Batman. Anyway, it's a super fun book. You're starting to see more of the Andy Samberg humor, meeting more of the Rick Remender, hey, we're not meeting our red ink budget kind of influence in this book. Super, super cool. I've said in the past few weeks, we've talked about Borealis, we've talked about The Displaced. Those are my two favorite books right now. This is solidly in third. But it's like 1A, 1B, and 1C. These are all great.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I ever doubted you, Kyle, but until I actually read it, I was like, okay, Kyle's not just hyping this. This book is great.
Yeah, no. Jay, you've done these shows with me for like 2.5 years. If it's not good, I just be like, this sucks.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
Here are the good parts, but this is bad. No, this is great.
No.
Paige, congrats, man. Getting Kirkham to do a cover on a book is mega.
So look, I found a cover that actually has the trade dress on it. That's awesome. This is an annual. It's 60 pages.
Oh, wow.
I did not read 60 pages.
It says 48 pages of content.
It's weird because when I look at it on the PDF, I think it counts it as 60 because of all the pictures and stuff in the back. But it says 60. Okay, then scratch that. I didn't look at all 60 pages. How about that? But I'm going to go back and look at all 60 pages because this one was good. This was good. I don't normally like the team up books, but this is a different kind of team up. When you pair a Van Helsing with the daughter of Dracula, you kind of have my attention. You got my attention with that. I just went and did the first chapter of this annual, and there's a little talk, and then it's just a lot of vamp splattering action. It's a very actiony book. There were a few kills in this where I was like, ugh, okay, we're doing that, all right. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this one, but if you're already a Van Helsing fan, if you're into badass ladies wrecking shop, if you're into action, horror, and gore, this is a definite pickup for you. Like I said, it's one of those. See, John, Zenoscope still does it for me sometimes, and this is definitely one of them that did. So, you're a fan of Zenoscope, pick this one up. If you've never read Zenoscope, you won't be totally lost, but it was a cool, fun action read for me.
Oh, baby. All right, this is Black, White, and Blood, which is kind of a lie because the last story in here is blue and white. So, calling shenanigans here. But it's really, really great stuff. So, first story is kind of a telling of them trying to figure out which one it starts with. I think it's the ship that is not the Nostromo. So it's not the Nostromo story, but there is a ship that notices that there is a derelict ship kind of like with nope, I'm getting it mixed up with Predator. There's another whole storyline that's in Predator that's like it. Dadgummit! Anyway, there is a big bad in this one. You can see her on the front cover. It's like, surprise, you should not have opened up the door. You should know that if you're going to open up a ship that has been derelict, you should not just like think everything's going to be fine. Oh, I remember what it is. Okay, so this happens in a future in which it feels like there's like all of humanity might be on a giant ship going out into space. Feels like maybe like a space station kind of deal where each section is responsible for, things that would keep humanity alive. Like there's a section that's in charge of the oceans that they've created in the ring, or for cleaning the air. They raise trees, basically. So when they find the ship, they actually take a vote because they can just be like, sorry, we're not going to do anything. They actually, you see them everyone makes the vote very sweetly to go and do something about it. And then, of course, they open up the the airlock and they're like, oh crap, we've done a bad thing. Why do we do this? So anyway, there's two other stories that are equally as cool, but I actually like the first one the best because the art is really, really cool. It's like this on the front there. Thank you. It was really, really cool. I like Bueller a lot. We're both no nonsense people that really just love comic books. So yeah, we definitely see eye to eye.
Okay. I've really been liking this series. I think it's a cool idea to develop your superhero power at 50 and to have it explain a lot of things from throughout your life. This issue was filler. And by that I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that in a sort of, I'm trying to be direct and honest about what this issue is. It's a lot of action sequences and not a lot of storytelling. Now, there are parts that are important to the story going forward, but where issue 4 left off, where you're finding out about the, the fire spirits and this kind of stuff and how he might be related to them, very little mention in this issue. So the thing that was most interesting coming out of issue 4 is almost glossed over in issue 5. This really feels like it should have been issue 3 or 4, and issue 4 should have been, after. But it's fine. It was kind of that idea where the hero has to go and like live with the knowledge that they are now a hero, and you see them kind of struggling with what that means and what their role in it is. But like I said, overall, this was a little bit of a like, okay, I get it. You need this part in the story, but I was hoping for something more.
Okay.
Oh, why?
Not a fan of the show. I've said that before, but for whatever reason, I really enjoy the comics. Really enjoy it. This one starts off with Rick falling asleep to like a Sherlock Holmes movie, and by the third "core blimey" from Watson, he goes and wakes up Morty, saying, "We've never done it. We've alluded to it in the credits, but we've never done it. Rick and Morty are doing Sherlock Holmes." They traveled to this planet that has 1887 in the planet name, and it's now it's now time to solve a murder. And the usual Rick and Morty and hijinks ensue. Like, it's not like I've never watched the show, just not for me. The comics for me though, golden. And obviously I'm leaving a ton out because I want people to give this a shot and to be surprised. And this is also a somewhat family-friendly show, so I can't really tell you too many things that happen in this book because, wow. Seriously, though, if you're not a Rick and Morty fan, try the comics. Like I said, I still can't get into the show, but the comics are great. And I honestly would have never read this on my own if it wasn't for In Stores This Week or Minute to Skim It. And now every time I see a Rick and Morty book, that's like the first thing I grab. So you never know. Don't base some of these comics that have TV shows or TV shows that get turned into comics. Don't base their comics off the shows, because you never know when you're going to pick something up and be like, oh, wow, I may not like the show, but I really dig this. So give this one a shot.
Okay, here's your new series of Edge of Spider-Verse, which, by the way, this one is amazing and has a first appearance in it, but I have heard from, people that give me little whispers in my ears that number, I think, 3 of this series is going to have something really important in it. So just a heads up. Just put it on your pull list, because they always have, every issue almost has a first appearance of a character that you're like, about now maybe, but then, 2 movies from now, you're like, heck, that's my favorite character. Anyway, so this one has 3 stories. First one focuses in on this character, who is Weapon 8, and essentially has him fighting against Weapon 6 or 10. Which one is Wolverine? Weapon X is 10, so Weapon X. Sorry. And it has a cool resolution in that you find out who the character is, like who his name is, because the whole time he doesn't remember or doesn't know because he's in the weapon program. So he manages to strong arm his bosses into telling him what his name is. So, and then the middle story is with Spider-Bite, who you saw in the Across the Spider-Verse movie. And then who's awesome? Oh, it's a kind of an origin story for not necessarily Spider-Man 2099, but for the Spider Society. So all great. Are all building it together. And what this book does is remind you in the ads that are in it that there is the Web of Spider-Man coming up soon. I don't remember when its release date is, but it literally says that one book is the middle of the web for 5 titles that it ties to going forward for storyline. So if you don't want to be left behind for a storyline, definitely put Web of Spider-Man on your list, even if you weren't a normal Web of Spider-Man thing. I think it's more about the web that they talk about that you don't mess with the canon of, that is going to reach through all of the Spider titles. So
Okay. So this is the Six Fingers #1. So do you guys remember the one hand?
uh-huh.
This is the Six Fingers. Why is there 6 fingers? Because my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. Yeah, that's the only good thing I have to say about this book. I liked the Rom V One Handbook better than I liked the Six Fingers tie-in by Dan Waters. I will say this. I'm not going to continue reading any of either from here.
So which one is the one from the serial killer's point of view?
This one.
Okay.
And here's the problem. If they had both been written by Rom V or both been written by Dan Waters, I think I would continue to read them. But it's like two disparate storytelling styles to be the same world. Right? Even though you're seeing different points of view from different people, the storytelling is too different that it feels incongruous and it makes it hard to follow. So the way I'm going to choose instead to approach these books is to wait for the collection and read it that way. Right? And hope that the collection, rather than putting them out like in release date order, puts them out in order that you're supposed to read them. So like, are you supposed to read all of the, like, are you, essentially what I'm saying is, I'd like to read all of the One Hand first and then read all of the Six Fingers second, or vice versa, rather than boom, it just, the two things are too incongruous for my ADHD. And unfortunately, that, in my opinion, is the downfall of this story. It has all the things going for it. It was very interesting. And by the way, that thing you see with the door in it with all the hands, that's a pile of people that you see in the book.
Oh.
That's a shadow. So like,
It's not you, Kyle.
I know, John, you got to take that up with his wife. But no, it like I said, too incongruous for my brain. Might be great storytelling for everyone else, but for me, it's too odd.
Oh, sorry. This episode of To Skim It was brought to you by the letter I for incongruous.
So I was just saying it was brought to you by H3O, but okay.
Army of Darkness Forever. See, I told you there was another book on this list with people searching for a Necronomicon.
Yeah, but that cover, man. Like,
I love it. I love it.
no, can't do it.
It's like John Axwelder. Have you seen that book?
Yes.
Where it has no nose. It's been whacked off.
And to be honest with you, I don't care if it's issue 1000. I will always pick out a book with Ash. Always. So a little bit of a breakdown here. So we got 1993. I think it's kind of Evil Ash. Still using the interwebs to try to find the Necronomicon. But the cops come in and tell him he's under arrest for a murder. Then we shoot to 2093 Ash, who thinks he's found the final page, but the wizard says, no, it's in a place you first face the darkness. Yep, we're going back to the cabin. Or at least what's left of it. And Ash is in for the fight of his life, and there is a character that shows up that I laughed the entire time I was reading it. But then we go to 1300, Big Evil Ash, the one made of ash parts. And he's just eating the lower jaw of a peasant. The imagery in this book, amazing. He's taken over the castle, and it's up to Sheila to dispatch the Deadites alone. She has no one. So we think. Now this isn't the end of the story. Like when it got to number 5, I was like, okay, maybe this is the one that's going to wrap it up. No. On the very last page, it says everything goes to hell in 30 days. So they're going to continue this one. This is just an awesome, fun, gruesome time. Dynamite kills it across the board with Bond, Elvira, and Ash. These have got to be, outside of Thundercats, of course, these characters have got to be my favorite things I've read from Dynamite. Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell fans, I really hope you're pulling this one. And if you're not, get to your LCS, get on it.
All right, Last Hunt Predator. This is really cool. So, of all the issues, of all the stuff that's been coming out from Marvel, all the storylines, this one pushes forward quite a bit. It is tied to the last series, the characters that you saw in the last series. So it helps if you know it, but otherwise it gives you a little synopsis anyway. So what you see on the front cover there isn't actually a predator. It's a person that has predator armor that they've built to protect themselves. And the main character is a girl whose, I think, parents were killed by predators and has been hunting them down for a decade, trying to find every predator she can find and kill it. So humankind has gotten far enough along where they have made really great armor and can do this kind of stuff. So this one actually happens in space. They're actually trying to go and hunt down the actual homeworld. They're trying to figure out how they would figure that out. They've had rumors about these giant ships that are full of humans that have been abducted, that the predators use to go just like throw down on a planet to have like hunting season, right? So they've had rumors about these kinds of ships, but in this one, they actually find one. So, but they believe that it will lead them to the homeworld because they're like, okay, well, this one has an origin. Where are they picking these people up from? Because they can't all be on this ship all the time. So they're storing them somewhere. So we can figure that out. That would be amazing. So this is, humans having one up on the predator, which is kind of different.
If that's a person, that's a great costume.
I have to tell you guys, I got to wear predator armor one time. Hot story. It was uncomfortable.
Well, that is going to do it.
Well, so real quick, guys, a couple of things I want to mention, everybody. First, we had an Oni book today. We've not had a lot of Oni in the past. I'm gonna make a concerted effort to make sure we're getting more Oni going forward, because if you haven't seen, I know we have a lot of horror fans with us. Oni signed a deal and is reviving the greatest horror publisher to ever publish horror in the history of ever, EC Comics.
Yeah.
They've announced Epitaphs from the Abyss as well as Cruel Universe for July and August. So they'll keep the anthology format we know, and they're going to have writers like Jason Aaron, Brian Azzarello, Rodney Barnes, Christopher Cantwell, Chris Condon, Matt Kint, and art like Cano, Peter Krause, Leo Max, Malachi Ward, and Dustin Weaver. So, y'all, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have EC Comics coming back from a publisher that we are already working with and we already get to be partners with. So we will definitely have EC Comics here on the show. And Eternal Dibs. Calling it now. Eternal Dibs.
Didn't Image just announce Universal Monsters also?
Yeah, but Cruel Universe and Epitaph from the Abyss, we'll see what happens. You guys can read the Universal Monsters ones. I'm going to stick with the ECs. But all of this stuff is available at your local comic shop. Head into your local comic shop and pick up some books, spend some money. Miss Jen and I are going to go visit a bunch of local comic shops in the next few days. Maybe we'll be live during some of those visits. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if I remember. But look, the first comic shop is going to have a signing with Matt Rosenberg and Ed Bryson, so I probably won't remember until after that because my mind will go blank. But we will definitely, right, Preston? Big sacrifice on my part. But we will be visiting local comic shops, and to find comic shops in your area, head over to comicshoplocator.com. Type in the numbers of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. Go in and buy stuff. And then be back here next week for more of this show. Stay tuned the rest of today. Jen is going to go do her show on Comic Book Shopping Network, but we've got Mint Hunter Comics coming up next, and then Kicking It with Henri after that. Tomorrow we've got a full slate of shows. Don't forget, Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, an hour-and-a-half show with Jam Comics, one of our new shows. And then the next Jam Comics will be back on Saturday at 7:30 p.m., assuming his bathroom doesn't explode again like it did last week. So,
No.
right. Miss Jen is in a former bathroom, and Jeff had to get his comics to high ground because his bathroom was flooding. So, bathrooms, man. What are you going to do? So we will see everybody next time here on The Experience.